Okay, so this is Megaquarium, or Mega Aquarium, I'm guessing is how they want you to pronounce it. And it is a tycoon-like game that, as you can see, this isn't a first impression necessarily, because when I started it up to make sure it would run properly, I got to playing it and didn't stop. I think it's very, very fun, and I love these type of games, and I am a huge, huge fan of aquariums in general. I really, really like aquariums. I don't even know why, because I don't really like fish, necessarily, but, like, I love things like octopi or octopuses and, like, I don't know, dolphins and whales and sea otters and seals and everything else. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of fish, though. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So, I've had access to this for a while, and unfortunately I'm getting late to showing it off, but I really, really do enjoy this game. We're just gonna jump in right from the beginning, though, because I think it does a pretty good job of explaining itself. Welcome to Sunnyside. You've been tasked with building a small aquarium from scratch here at Sunnyside. Before the investors release any funding, they want to make sure you can handle the basic controls, complete the objectives on the top right of the screen to prove you know what you're doing. For more information on any objectives, simply hover the info button to the right of it. Good luck. Okay, so the one thing I will levy against this game right from the get-go is that it does get to the point where when you have multiple things open, which we're not going to be able to see here yet, it gets super, super busy in, like, the UI. Like, a lot. So, the first thing we do here is we learn how the basic UI stuff functions. So our objectives are hover over the info button, pan camera, orbit camera, etc., etc. As you can see, I already know how some of these go. And, yeah. If you need any more information, you just hover over the info thing and it gives you the tooltip on how to do it. So hold the middle mouse button and move the camera to orbit around. Alternatively, hold control, which is very, very good because my middle mouse button doesn't work currently, so I usually just hold control. It's faster and more natural for me anyway while playing this game. Zoom camera is as simple as scroll wheel, and then return home is as simple as hitting the home button. Go figure. Time to build. Great stuff. You just unlocked your first round of funding for your aquarium. Use the money to get the basic requirements of your aquarium set up. These are covered in a new set of objectives that you've just been given. By the way, if you need to review this or any other message, you can click the bottom. You can use the button in the bottom left of the screen for the mail icon there. So yeah, if you just need to read anything that maybe you close hastily or want to revisit something, it's all just right there. We have $2,000 to start our small little aquarium here, which you can see is very, very small. And then we have our basic setup that they want us to do. So the first thing we got to do, of course, is build some basic tanks. It's as simple as clicking, and you can hold and drag it to make it bigger or smaller if the tanks allow that. But since these are basic anyways, we're going to start with just 2 basic ones right there. Now, the fish in the water need certain conditions to survive, of course, so we need to attach a basic filter to each tank. Which is as simple as, you see, when we have equipment that connect to things, you just select what you want to build, and then it shows an arrow on what it can connect to, like where it has to be positioning-wise on the grid. So I can't, unfortunately, connect something like right here. It has to be adjacent somehow, so we'll just do it that way. Basic heater to each tank. Make sure the water temperature is just right. Add some Azure Demoiselle to each tank. This is where it shows that I don't know anything about fish. What do they mean by some, I wonder? So that's 4 out of 8 there. Oh, I guess I probably could just done 1 and 1. Okay, whatever. Add some decorations to your tanks. So that is just here. We'll add some sea lettuce. And you see here there's little tooltips over each tank, which you can turn on or off depending on what you want. It gets a little cluttered sometimes if you leave them all on, so I actually usually just have them all off except for what the fish need to survive, which is this stuff here, I believe. Because some fish need certain plants, like amount of stuff that they can hide in. Some fish need a certain amount of heat, so you need to be able to make sure that there's enough heaters heating it or whatever. Yeah, there's stuff to worry about later on. Build an orange pellet dispenser. We need to be able to feed the fish. So there we go. Build a tool station. Then you can, it says there, scroll mouse wheel to rotate, which I guess you don't have to do. They just want you to build it, but they're giving you that tooltip anyway, in case you need to fit it somewhere. Hire an aquarist? Aquarist? I've never heard that term before, to be frank. And that's as simple as just going to your little hire thing down here, clicking on it, and then finding who would be best for the job. And frankly, it doesn't matter right away, but since she has higher feeding skill, we will go ahead and hire her. In fact, you know what? We're going to hire both. And as you can see, things are kind of cheap in this game for setting up. Not to say that, like, you don't run out of money very quickly, because it's a tycoon game, so of course you do. But, yeah, for the most part, all the defaults they set you on for the gate price and all that sort of stuff, I think is very good for making you feel like you're actually succeeding at something, which is something the tycoon games usually you can struggle with if you don't know, like, how to look at the graphs and see, like, when people were visiting more or whatnot. So yeah, it starts you off on a good foot right away, and then it just gets harder and harder from there, obviously. So now we get to open our aquarium, which I don't actually remember how to do, so of course we'll just look here. When you're ready, open the aquarium by clicking the button on the bottom of your screen. There you go. Your first guest. Well done, your basic aquarium is up and running. Your first guest has arrived. Whenever a guest enters the aquarium, they'll pay you some money to enter. In addition, as they experience your displays, they'll reward you with ecology points, which you can use to unlock new animals for your aquarium. So that is the reason why we want to get people in here. We want them to be interested enough to give us ecology points to study or import, I guess would actually be technically correct, bigger and better fish. Great job, you started research on a new animal. As you earn more ecology points, you will make progress towards unlocking it. So yeah, this needs 3 ecology points. There's 1. I need 1 more. Give me 1 more. Okay, good. New animal unlocked. So pause the game. You can either hit the pause button down here, or as I just did, you can hit spacebar. Expand your floor space, click and drag. So to do this, we have to add floor space and expand accordingly. I want to save a little bit of money, so we're going to expand just enough to get that. Now we need to build a large tank. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move these tanks right at the beginning, like right at the entrance here. Now, a problem is I can't put it in a corner like that, because then you'll see the heater has no access to it. You need to be able to give access to all of the equipment that's hooked up to things in here for the staff. Otherwise, they can't fix the heater if there's an issue. So that's one of the bummers when you're like designing this giant workspace or giant aquarium, is you have to be cognizant of the fact that like some things will just look out of place. Later on, you do get to build walls that like make it look like from down here that you're walking through and there's like, this is all just backroom stuff. So it does look better later, but from the beginning, it's kind of a bummer. Okay, so we need to go ahead and build a large tank. Just like that. And then practice moving tank, we did by me having to move some stuff around for the big tank, no problem. Add a basic heater and filter to your new tank. So we just do this rigmarole all over again. Just like that. And now I will move it in a way that I enjoy, which that's probably good enough, frankly. Add some orchid dotty backs to your tank. And it says here that we actually need 6. So there we go. Different care requirements. This is kind of what I touched on a little bit earlier. You may have noticed a new set of icons attached to each animals. So this is what the animals all need, basically, to survive. We're going to pause this again so I don't kill them accidentally while explaining it. Obviously, this is how much each animal earns when they're being viewed by guests. So the cooler, newer things give more ecology, and the old, busted ass looking Azure Demoiselle are not as interesting to people. This is how big they get in the tank. This is what they need for the heat in the water. This is the water quality minimum that they need. And then this is the type of food they eat. Some of them do have this sort of thing. So this is a shoaler. It needs to be in a group of at least 4.5. 4 half and half rather, chromis. So you need to have a bunch in there. Yeah, different limitations and whatnot to make things a little bit interesting. Okay. So our new requirements here: build a tank with at least 1 half and half. Satisfy the shoaler requirement. Sufficient water quality and sufficient heating. So we're going to go ahead and pause again. We're going to build another basic tank. This time, I think what we're going to do to make things a little interesting is we're going to attach them like this, which means we do need to expand out just a little bit more on this side as well. Which of course means that my OCD-like tendencies are going to go off the chain here. We will go ahead and add what we need to. So one of the things that when you start doing stuff like this and putting things in close quarters and different equipment for different tanks and whatnot, in fact, I'll just show you again here. When you attach it, you see that it could be attached to this, or it could be attached to this when I'm on this corner, because it is adjacent to 2 things. So it brings out this little dongle, which is what you use to choose what it's actually attached to. This makes for some interesting setups later where you have a whole bunch of tanks lined up, and then you have just like a whole bunch of the back end stuff in a line basically, and you can just have them like attached all the way down. Yeah, you can do some funky stuff with it later on. For right now, we don't have to worry about any of that though. We just do this basically. And for the sake of being even, that should be there. That's the wrong thing. This should be here attached to that. Okay. Now, we didn't need to expand this. I am silly. But for the sake of being evened out, it's going to drive me nuts if it isn't even on both ends. And in fact, this should probably just go back here. And this should go... No, I just blocked it off. So that should go there, and this should go here. Actually, what it should be is, like, for ease of access for the employees, you would actually have one of each of these on either side here. Gotta turn this to make that accessible. And then I'll put another tool station on this side as well. Okay, cool. So back to what they actually want us to do. We need the half and half chromis. And we need to satisfy the shoaler requirement, which is 4 of them. So this tank is full. That's bad news. That means I actually have to make that. Okay. Oh, what a pain. Okay. So what I'm going to have to do is let's go ahead and bulldoze that whole thing. Make another big one here. I'm going to actually take the fish from here out and put them in here. I'm going to repurpose and salvage this and this. So now that empty tank can be bulldozed. And these have to be moved in a way that everything can be accessed. That'll do. That'll work. Okay. So, back to what we had in here. There's our shoaler requirement. We ranked up. Now you got a few different species of fish in your aquarium. You should be able to rank up soon. Ranking up will instantly unlock new equipment, decorations, blah, blah, blah. The higher your rank, the more the guests will attract and more willing to pay your aquarium. Ranking up occurs as a result of generating prestige points. These are earned whenever a guest enjoys something in your aquarium. There are many ways to earn prestige points, but you'll earn the majority with your animals, tanks, and decorations. Your next objective is to rank up. So reach rank 2. We need 10 prestige points. And this is just basically a time thing of getting the guests in to look at our stuff and making sure that we keep all our fish and stuff alive. This is the tedium part. But I do believe you can fast forward to make it go a little bit faster when you have everything automated. Which we do. Yeah, there we go. Rank up. A bit like Zoo Tycoon. Yes, exactly. So we unlock staff doors, a combi mini, and some driftwood cave. And now we can also research Cane Demoiselle. So yeah, this is pretty much everything you're going to do in the game. What I'm going to do now is load up mine that I was playing around with. And so this is the first real level after the tutorial. As you can see, you start off with like a little area again and you can build out. So as you can see here, I have access to walls, or you get access to walls, and you can start making like backroom stuff. So obviously when you're controlling everything, you see everything, but it has this neat feature where you can go into first person mode and visit your own little aquarium and take a look at what your customers will see. So you walk right in, and first things first, obviously we need to get employees into the back room quickly if something is happening, so this is their entrance. But yeah, you come in here and you see some fish I don't remember the name of. I think these are the shoalers and the like basic ones that you start off in getting. Then you have a little bench in between that people can rest in if they are getting tired, and just watch the fish go by a little bit. And it just kind of goes like that down the hall. You got some eels in here. The eels are interesting because their whole thing is that the longer they live, they get bigger and bigger, and they will eat smaller fish. So that's why the 2 eels in here do not have any other fish allowed in their tank, and why they're not allowed in the bigger tanks, because they will just eat them. Except for maybe these ones. I think these ones are above the requirements for the eels to eat them. So they could possibly, like, coexist, but I didn't want to risk it. This tank actually has the newer fish that I had unlocked that I was working on getting more in, which is why this one looks so empty, but that is what it is. Then as you can see, you also get some seaweed and different decorations you can use. I really like using the driftwood and seaweed, and some fish and wildlife need driftwood to provide them little cave that they can hide in. The eels specifically, just going back on them, their requirements are they need the hiding spot. So that's why there's nothing else in that tank with them except for 2 hiding spots there. We would go back here, but some careless employee has left the door open, which means that the public will be looking around there, because the public in this game are ridiculous and they want to get in the back room so bad, and I don't understand why. Here we see another eel. This is a tank I was playing with this idea of. This is a baby eel, so these are some new ones here. And you can see I did put a fish in this one. I want to see how long it takes for them to like chomp on it, basically. So that's my little test, my test aquarium tank there, to see how that works. And then back here we have the main event stuff. The idea is to expand that back wall out at some point and start putting in the big stage show stuff, or like a hallway to that stuff that goes off in a different direction probably. But before you get there, of course, you can see there are some soda receptacles here and some trash bins for when you are finished your snacks. But yeah, this would be the main area. This is where the giant tanks will be, and it will be continuously upgraded as I unlock more and more stuff. And this is where the more interesting fish are. This is kind of the moneymaker for Prestige back here. This is where the expensive fish have been. And, yeah, where I'll probably continue expanding. But, yeah, as you can see, I really, really like the Tycoon games a lot. And, this is just another one of those, which sounds like it might be, like, oh, well, it's nothing, not doing anything special or anything, but I don't think it needs to. I really, really like Zoo Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon and all that sort of stuff. And like I said, I love aquariums. Aquariums are some of my favorite tourist attractions to go to. Anytime I'm in a new city, I want to check out their aquarium. So, I just kind of fell in love with this. So, yeah, this is where we get into some more interesting stuff too. This is where we, like, I unlocked pumps a while ago. And as you can see, the equipment for these freestanding tanks out here are pumps, and pumps are basically just an item that you connect to a tank somehow that you can connect the heaters and stuff to instead of connecting them directly to the tank, which makes for a nicer, cleaner look there. It looks like everything is starting to fall apart though. As you can see, this equipment needs to be fixed using a toolkit. The reason why this is assigned to nobody is because this is my new area. And if we look at people here, they actually have zones that you can assign them to. So I'm going to create a new zone just so I can bring it up. And you can see one employee, it was tasked with this area, one employee was tasked with this area, one with this area, one with this area, and this area. Basically, they're not overlapping enough, and I can't hire any more employees currently. This is the problem I'm having right now, where I'm going to actually have to change the zones. So 2 employees are going to have to take care of this whole area by themselves, 2 this. And then I'm going to need the other last 2 to take care of this whole area, which is a bummer, which is why I wanted 1 or 2 more employees. But this is where I was saying the only issue I have with this game is that the UI can start getting a little bit daunting when you have everything activated. It gets a little cluttered, you know? And this is where you're gonna find you're switching your view a lot depending on what you're doing, because this is all relevant information that you will need probably at some point. And then if you have multiple things open that you are wanting to check out, like if you're taking a look at this tank and this tank and this tank, and also what does this person think and what is this employee over here doing, it gets, you know, it gets a little cluttered pretty quickly. So luckily there is a close all button for when you do get a little overzealous. But yeah, again, this is Mega Aquarium, which I think is super dope. And I highly, highly, highly recommend if you like Tycoon games, because it is a good one of those. It came out quite recently. It came out a few weeks ago, and I am late on getting this video or stream up, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it's really, really good, and I highly suggest checking it out.